Hi, everybody. I'm David Paparelli, co-founder of M-Cultivo, and welcome back to the Cupping Table podcast, where the best coffee producers and buyers share their stories, insights, and outlook on the specialty coffee space. Our guest today is Vicente Mejia, the founder and managing director of Clearpath Coffee. Clearpath has been making it easy for clients to source specialty coffee from Colombia for over a decade. And to celebrate their 10th year in coffee, they are launching Colombia Legends this year, which is an invitation-only auction with some of the best coffee producers in Colombia. We will certainly be talking a lot about that in this podcast. So Vicente, just welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, David. I'm very excited to be here and looking forward to this conversation.
Excellent. We start these things off with an easy question, or sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's more difficult, but it's just, what's the best cup of coffee that you've had recently?
Okay, so I am a fan of traditional washed coffees, and I had the opportunity to travel to Domingo Torres farm in Norte Santander in Colombia. It's a famous producer inside Colombia because he has won 5 times, or he has been in the auction of the Colombia Land of Diversity for 5 consecutive years. And his geisha from Lote 5, Lote 5, as he calls him, is by far one of the best coffees I have tried in my life. And I had the chance to try that in the last month or so. So, yeah, Domingo Torres washed geisha is just amazing cup of coffee.
Did you go out? Was it on his cupping table that you tried it, or did you have it in your lab?
I tried it at his farm, and then I had the opportunity to try some samples at the lab, and the coffee is just amazing everywhere. It's this guy, where he really just picks the coffee very carefully, makes it drying in a very traditional way, very traditional farm, very simple processing, but the cup, it's amazing. Always. I am very impressed with that. It's the terroir, the place, the genetics. It is very, very impressive farm, impressive coffees that he's producing.
You know, you often ask people, some in coffee, but a lot outside of coffee, what their favorite cup of coffee was. And they'll say something like, well, it was, man, in this farm in Costa Rica, it was unbelievable. And, it's the magic of the experience, right? It's the wildlife, it's the farm itself, it's the sitting there with the farmer, it's having the conversation, and then just kind of, so is it the best coffee in the world? But I know this one certainly is one of the best coffees in the world. You had in your lab, you had in your set. But what I'm curious about is, is there still some magic there for you after you've been doing this for so long, sitting on a farm having a cup of coffee with a farmer? Does that still impact your quality assessment or your enjoyment of that coffee?
Yeah, of course. It always brings an emotion out. Like the way that we do this, like, or why are we doing this, is to really be able to find a way for these producers to connect with the right kind of clients all over the world. And especially with producers like Domingo, that are placed in a remote area. It's a farm that is hard to get to. Being able to be there, learn about the story. There are usually stories of lots of hard work, years and years of perseverance, betting on themselves when no one else was trusting that that could happen, and just having this idea of like, I'm going to make this possible. It really touches you. It touches me. It makes me inspired to try to help these producers more, or like try to find them a good business and good clients that they can connect with. So it's, of course, that emotional part always makes you feel a little bit more in love with the cup of coffee, with the location, with the people that are doing that. And I think it's part of what we want to do as well when we're selling coffees, trying to communicate that story, trying to communicate those families, their struggles, their process, the place they live. Um, the end consumer or even the roaster can have a little bit of that feeling, a little bit of that connection, and make that cup of coffee a little bit more special. And it's not just how it tastes, but what's the history behind it, what's the family and the people that worked really hard to make it happen.
When you host roasters or importers down to kind of meet with your farming network, to meet with you, to meet with your team, do you, is there, eh, you've done so many of these origin trips at this point. Is there an identifiable moment where you see that switch go off in people where it's like, okay, well, this is really relationship coffee. It was it was kind of a brokered trade deal, and now it's a relationship. Are you do you see that identifiable switch on those trips? Is it a moment, or is it a more of a kind of progress during that time?
Having a coffee with the family of producers, and I am when I am in one of those origin trips, I'm helping translate. So I am listening to the story of the producer in Spanish and bringing that into English with the uh, clients. And I think telling the story of how the family went through the difficulties to find the coffee and how they found that first cup of coffee was special. Telling those stories are that what really connects with that human side and that struggle that we all have of like finding a purpose, finding a road, or how what I'm gonna do with my business and why I'm doing this. So when it's specialty coffee, there is also almost always a story of how that producer, how that family got connected to a buyer that tasted the coffee and said, "Wow, this coffee is different. This is unique. You should uh, go show it at a trade show or go present it at the Cup of Excellence." And then that changes their life and that changes the world of that family and that producer. So I think it's usually that kind of story is what connects with that human side. And once you learn that background and the story of struggle, it's always the moment that clicks. And then people are really like connected with the producer. I usually try to get people to the farm because when you're in a cupping table or in a lab, when you're just cupping the coffees with the producer, even if the producer is there, it's different from showing that experience of the farm and their house. So like visiting the farm, visiting the house has that possibility of making that connection between the people. And yeah, I really love it. And for the last month or so that we have been working on the Colombia Legends auction, and we have had the chance to visit 15 of the best farms in Colombia. That has happened to me several times, and yeah, there are some amazing stories from those producers that we're gonna have at the auction. So yeah, I'm excited to share a little bit of those stories with everyone.
You've been at Clearpath now for 10 years. Clearpath has kind of an interesting story, and it was certainly by choice. It sounds like for you, as kind of a personal mission to get the coffee and to have an impact. I think I do think that's kind of interesting, especially from a Colombia perspective, where a lot of people get into coffee because of family,
Mhm.
family background, or they were born basically into coffee, right? Yours was more out of choice, and um, you know, what I'd love to just hear a little bit about, tease out a little bit, because I've heard some of this story before, is specifically this project El Puente as kind of a little bit of a driving force of the philosophy of this thing of taking, I won't ruin it, but taking kind of Muhammad Yunus philosophy around kind of international development, applying that to coffee and kind of coming back. Can you tell a little bit about kind of that deeper story for Clearpath and kind of the social impact and personal mission you are in coffee?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Happy to share. So I was a grain trader. Uh, I was importing lentils, beans, corn into Colombia. And that company still exists. We still run it. But I had this very romantic idea, very idealistic idea that I wanted to not just send the dollars out from the Colombia economy as a whole into international exporters, but I wanted to bring dollars into Colombia as well. I wanted to find a product in the agricultural side of business that we could export and that I will have the possibility of bringing dollars into the Colombian economy, but also impacting families and producing families in the country. And that's how I found the coffee. I just started with that idea, a very romantic idea of creating an impact of for families that are remote in rural towns and the rural Colombia, and helping them connect with the world. We met the people from Junus Social Business. We told them a little bit of this job that we were doing of connecting producers in Colombia. That was around 2018. The company had been going for almost 3 years. And we presented this idea with, it was an innovative idea at the time. There were not so many processing stations in Colombia. In Colombia, what happens is every producer has their own washing station at the farm, the pulping machine, fermentation tanks, and they do it in a very small scale and with the resources that they have. But there wasn't a concept of a community processing center. There were maybe a couple pilot projects, and we presented this idea of creating a community processing center where the producers will deliver the cherries. They will learn about the processing made by a team of professionals that had a system on how to do all the steps for washed and natural coffees, and they will get paid a premium for their cherry. So we'll be adding coffee, we'll be adding value to the coffee through processing. And the Juno social business team really loved the idea. They helped us finance a first project of El Puente, that is a community processing center. And it started going on 2018, and it's still one of our biggest projects on the company, or at least one of the coffees that we sell in the biggest volume year to year. So it's a project that is today impacting around 460 families of small producers that want to deliver the cherry there, have found a way of uh, using their infrastructure and their processing centers, their processing facilities at their own farms in a better way to create higher quality coffees by processing lower volumes and delivering some of their crop to our processing facility. So it helps them also improve the quality and the speed and the processing that they do on their own farms, and helps them with the cash flow of delivering cherry and getting paid for a good price on their cherry. It is a project that has impact on different ways for the producers that are partners, and it's also a project that has been well received by clients all over the world. So yeah, we're proud of that project, and it's kind of like our biggest impact and biggest reach towards producer, and how we think we're adding more value to small producers today.
Do you run a washing station before that
Oh,
project?
no, no. We didn't have any knowledge about that, and we didn't have any idea how that was going to happen. But
Yeah, I've heard this in Colombia sort of a couple times of, hey, it'd be a great idea. The traditional kind of mantra in coffee is there's a lot of control at the dry mill, right? The dry mill level. It's where a lot of quality control happens, a lot of sorting happens. That's where the final blends get created, all that. Washing station, logically, I guess, in a lot of people's minds is, well, if there's a lot of control at the dry mill, then there's a lot of control at the washing station. We could get even better, just vertically integrate even more. I've heard other people have some challenges launching washing stations in Colombia because it's countercultural a little bit, and there's sometimes there's an arrogance around what can be achieved by someone with kind of a master plan, a lot of money, in a washing station that's better than what a producer or farmer might be able to do with their current setup, right? I'm not
Yes.
saying one's right or wrong, but
Mhm.
yeah, I just love to get your reaction to that.
It is.
Do you, yeah, do you connect with
No,
that experience?
of course, of course. It is. It is a very, very, very challenging project culturally because all the producers are uh, usually they're used to process their own coffee and they're used to also getting paid immediately once they deliver coffee to a cooperative or the Coffee Growers Federation. They get paid cash immediately for their coffee. So you need to have uh, a few things in place. And that's the relationship with the community, the trust from that community that you are paying them well, and you have to go run numbers with them. They had changed over the time, but when we started, it was a unique concept, or like a not unique but innovative concept. So they didn't have the experience with it, and it took a while. It took a while. We had luck by having a few well-known people in the area that were uh, interested in the project. That people who were producers and that were leaders in their community that helped us introduce the project to other producers. But the main issue was producers trusting that you're gonna pay them well for the cherry and how they will convert that money or that amount of cherry into dry parchment. That is the price that they have fixed and that they know and that they want to compare. Like, what is the price that I get for dry parchment? What is the price that I get for cherry? How do I compare that? And there is a reality that is happening now in Colombia as well. Is producers are asking more for cherry or the conversion from cherry to parchment than if they're selling just the dry parchment,
Mm.
because there is the belief that if you're buying cherry from them, you're gonna do some special process that is gonna add value to the coffee, and you're gonna sell that coffee as a specialty as a higher value. So it's something unique that happens today in Colombia because now there is lots of people buying cherry. Many companies buying cherry. Specialty companies, especially, are focused on buying cherry and then processing it themselves. And producers are asking for a premium on cherry versus just dry parchment. So that's a challenge that we have faced also over the time. The cost of the cherry is higher, and I think it's good for the producer that has that opportunity and has that kind of client. And we have also learned over the years that we are not the best ones are creating just traditionally washed coffee. The way that we do it today, and we also learned that through the conversation that we had with the impact investors that were worried about producers just depending on us, like 100% depending on our project to process their cherry, and the producer losing their ability to, or losing their infrastructure at the farm to process their coffee by themselves. So what we do today is we think what is the product that we can do the best and that can add more value to the coffee. And we are doing now naturals and honey processing only. And we try to do really good quality honeys and naturals. And we let the producer, or we encourage the producer to process some of their crop in a traditional washed way with lots of attention to detail, lots of attention to quality. And then we also come by their coffees that are scoring 84 and a half, 85 points or more. And we sell El Puente, or the families associated to El Puente, has naturals, honey, and washed. But the washed coffee is processed by the own producers. So it's been a learning curve. We have had a lot of issues with uh, producers, with teaching them what is the price for a cherry versus the price of parchment. And today, I think the market is mature on that, or at least there's more people doing that. And so producers know how to sell their coffee. And as I said, they are asking for a premium when they want to just sell the cherry versus dry parchment.
I'd also think there'd be some mistrust of some of the conversion rates. Anytime you have to do math in those kind of transactions, it's like, well, it's a 1 to 5 cherry to green. They're like, well, okay, well, there's a big difference between 22% yield and 18% yield. So you might want to pay that appropriately. As I can see those conversations in real time that, being a little bit challenging. Um, do you think, I mean, you guys are obviously very careful with this project and how you've set it up, and that they're kind of training hubs and you're kind of split processing wash versus, doing what producers expect you to do with their coffee, which is, hey, why don't you take on the load and the risk of more innovative processing methods, right? The honeys, the naturals, things like that, that might be higher risk for them to produce. Do you think by and large this trend in the Colombia industry kind of moving to, more centralized washing stations, is it a good thing for the the country, the coffee industry of Colombia, and for the farmers?
I think it is. If it's done right, it has the potential to, as you said, take off some of the risk for the producer to do the processing and do these processings in infrastructure that is bigger, uh, and maybe also a team that is specialized on this processing. So it has the potential for improving the quality of average coffee in general. I think for small producers that have limited access to infrastructure or processing information processing knowledge, delivering part of their cherry to a processing center can help them, uh, help them financially. It takes out some of the pressure of the harvest season. It takes out some of the pressure of the volume of the harvest season that may come out all together, and it's too much for their infrastructure. Um, it can reduce the amount of defects coffee can have during the processing. So I think it is a good option for some producers. And I think it's also a place where people can learn how to process coffees better. So, like if a producer that wants to become a specialty coffee producer and wants to have really great, high quality coffees, uh, of course they're going to be wanting to process them on their own or at their farm. But having this uh, opportunity to sell cherry and opportunity to learn about the processing, it's part of the journey and can help them scale on that journey to become their own processors and processor experts, learning more about what they're doing, maybe investing more on time and the resources, attention to detail on smaller batches that they can sell for specialty at higher prices. I think it is a good tool to have. Not all Colombian coffee should be processed in washing stations and community processing centers, uh, because then that will just kill the diversity and that will kill the specific knowledge of a few farms and the farms that are unique on their terroir and genetics. But that being a tool that the producers can tap to and access to, it's a positive thing for the industry as a whole.
How much of all of this, you're in very deep with kind of every single level of the coffee supply chain now, right? Um, how much of this did you kind of have in your mind, either as a probability or a possibility 10 years ago when you started Clearpath? Did you have all this kind of laid out, or any vision around, well, this is what I'm going to be doing in 10 years, that sort of aligned? Walk us through that story a little bit.
I no, when we started, it was we didn't know, we didn't learn. we didn't know what was the issues that the coffee industry was having. And I was coming from a totally different industry. I just wanted to sell coffee and find clients to sell coffee and like probably like connect to people that will be able to pay a little bit better and will pay the producers better. Uh, but we didn't really know uh, about any of the issues that we're going to find. And I think we found two main issues that changed also the philosophy of the company through the years. The first one was, as you said earlier, dry milling. When we started 2015, there were very, very few dry mills that were capable of dry milling naturals in Colombia, or that will be able to take a micro lot of 5 bags of geisha and like preserve that lot, keep it clean, and then deliver it a really high grade of uh, milling specs. So we found out early in the way that we needed to invest in infrastructure. First, dry milling infrastructure, if we were able to guarantee quality for the kind of coffees and the kind of clients that we wanted. And then we found this other idea of the community processing center. And we also learned like we can invest a little bit into processing infrastructure to help the producers upgrade their quality. It is, we have been just working on finding the issues, but we didn't have an idea of uh, exactly what we were going to do. It's been talking to the producers, talking to the clients, finding those gaps of where we can add value and where we can invest a little bit to make that difference and help the industry work better. And that's what we're still trying to do. We try to keep um, learning from producers, learning about their struggle, and doing what we can on as a company and as we grow on capability to finance, to market the coffees, to process the coffees. That's still what we're doing, and the projects that we have today are still around that and adding value, guaranteeing quality. That's what
And
what we're doing.
as you kind of segment out into this, well, at the time it was a growing niche, which is the idea of micro lots, right? And it was
Mhm.
happening in Costa Rica. You could see it certainly in Panama. You could see it in other areas of the world. Colombia, it sounded like it made sense that it would start happening in greater volume in these segmented micro lots, but somebody has to invest in the infrastructure. As you kind of invest in that infrastructure and you explore these different, you call them trends going on in coffee, how do you balance, customers asking for some crazy processing method versus, what might be more the reality on the ground? The obvious ones that come to mind are things like, co-fermentation or infusion coffees, these kinds of things where you could easily just say, oh, yeah, we're just going to do all these coffees from now on of this type, and then you lose all your business and your honeys, your naturals, your other micro lots, or your clean coffees, and that sort of thing. How do you balance that sort of traditional processing methods with kind of chasing these trends while clients are asking you to do these wild things?
Yeah, that's a challenging one because I think Clearpath has been in that wave of the co-fermented coffees and the culturing, innovative processings since the beginning. We also like some of what we do is always looking at what is interesting for the market, and we see ourselves as a company that is representing the producer, and the producer is creating and taking these risks on creating new processings, creating new coffees. And what we want to do is let's show the world what this guy is doing, what these farms are doing, and see if there is a connection, there is a demand, if there is traction for the product. So we very soon in the trend of the coffeements find out that there was a demand for the coffees. from different regions in the world. It first started with, I think, maybe China was an early adopter, or Asia in general was an early adopter, and then the US or Europe took a little longer to adopt them and accept them fully. And today, I think it's worldwide. There is a knowledge about the coffees, and there is a demand for them. But I think the company, as a brand, Clearpath, got very strong on coffee fermented, and they got very strong as a source of this kind of innovative coffees. So, but I think it's also because these coffees are controversial, and these coffees create lots of noise and lots of attention. It drives attention from people. At the end of the day, this is a small portion of what we sell in our sales of a year. This kind of coffees maybe 20%, 30% in a very, very strong year, like 2024, 2023. I think that was a peak of attention for the government. And maybe that was 20%, 30% of our sales. And the other 70% is still just estate coffees, washed and naturals from El Puente, the traditional varieties. But those coffees are not as uh, controversial. They are not as interesting as the others. So we have been following the trend, and we sell these coffees a lot, but we didn't have to like, oh, let's focus more on the traditional side, or like this is growing too much and we're worried about the other kind of coffees, because at the end, on the quantity of coffees that we sell, there is still a good balance, and still the traditional naturals, washed and varietals have a bigger percentage than governments. I think we're happy with the governments. I think they add value both to a producer that is taking a coffee or a resource of a lower value, and through processing, uh, fetching a better price for it. And it's also adding value for the roasters and the end consumers that are enjoying a different drink, an innovative drink. There is a lot of demand, there is a lot of traction, there is a lot of interest towards coffee processing that is coming from that trend. It makes coffee processing more interesting. It opens the opportunity to talk about coffee processing. So I think it's a product that is controversial, but done in the right way. It has helped the industry. It's helping the producers. It's educating consumers in some sort of way about processing. So yeah, I haven't felt a need to like, oh, let's just not lose track of specialty, uh, but otherwise just use it as a way of uh, adding
Yeah,
value and educating.
you're leaning into demand too, right?
Yeah,
The market says,
yeah,
"Hey, I would like these coffees. Vicente, can you help me get these coffees? Can you do it in a way that has a level of integrity, right? That represents your brand well, that fits your mission, vision, values, right?" I do also wonder: is it a scenario where all good press, all press is good press, sort of thing, where the controversy actually you can direct into sales and you can direct into education, as you said. Do you feel that going on?
exactly. I totally agree with that. That attention gives the opportunity, as I said, to bring people knowledge about processing, and bring people knowledge about climate change that is making harder for producers that usually were achieving 86, 87 point cup of coffees at, let's say, 1,500, 1,700 meters above sea level. And then global warming and the different uh, dry season, rainy season changes have uh, disrupted production and disrupted quality in a way that also producers are having to learn more about processing, innovate, and invest into their farms to be able to achieve that same score and that same level of differentiation that they did in the past. So there is, yeah, an opportunity when you have people's attention to educate them about the difficulties, challenges of producing coffee, processing, and also palate training. I think it's hard for people to identify a very fine, subtle geisha, jasmine, floral profile when they are not a trained cupper or trained taster. So, like some people have challenges with that. With the compliments, they kind of learn to identify some flavors that are like very clear, and then they maybe learning how to ride the bike with the wheels on and the scale on their coffee knowledge through that controversy, attention, different product that is out there and has the possibility. Uh, I do think there is, if you do it in the right way, it can create an opportunity for education, an opportunity for bringing also more people into the specialty coffee segment. We have a team of very young people, and some of our export team, they are in the mid 20s, and they have access to geishas, they have access to bourbons. They go to the cupping lab and they taste the coffees. This uh, team of mostly the younger people, they still like better co-fermented coffees, and they
Wow.
prefer passion fruit, and they prefer lychee, and they prefer peach co-ferment than uh, geisha. Like, and it's also this evolution of uh, consumers, and we need to evolve with the consumers as well, and we need to learn and offer what they want. So I think, at least from what I can see, and very close with my team, there's a younger generation that wants that kind of flavors, and there is a market for it. So we're happy to have that available for everyone.
Yeah, it's sort of a gateway drug into the rest of the coffee world, right? Where, so many people's first coffee experience is with something like in Ethiopia, where their mind is blown. They're like, man, it tastes like blueberries, or it tastes like, this kind of really loud. I'm imagining that the new generation, that wild experience might be a co-fermented or an infused coffee, that gets them into drinking black coffee, which then gets them into understanding that a naturally processed geisha with these amazing jasmine floral notes that wasn't co-fermented is actually higher value. You think in wine where, do people start drinking sangria first, or they start drinking Bordeaux? And to kind of, insult people because they didn't start on a high end Bordeaux wine versus they were drinking a sangria in Barcelona sort of thing, and that was their first experience with red wine. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily the right thing to do. So I appreciate your approach to that. I would be curious getting over to the Legends, the Colombia Legends auction, because I do want to talk about that. And I'll bridge these two. Didn't want to do this, but I will. Are there going to be co-fermented coffees in Colombia Legends? Are you guys
Eh,
targeting anything for that?
We're not having conference on the Colombia Legends. We are producing these producers that are very innovative in the coffee side, and like adding yeasts, bringing technology into processing, are uh, gaining popularity and are now famous producers. So we're gonna have a few of them, and we're gonna divide them in two groups. One is the group of the innovative, future looking producers that are uh, bringing technology, bringing yeasts, bringing new things into the specialty coffee processing world. But what we're going to do with them is just also a good geisha, uh, a good Sudan Rume processed with the technology they have and the knowledge they have acquired. And we're going to have another group of producers that are more like the tradition keeper, where they're still doing innovative things and lots of attention to detail, but it's more traditional kind of coffee with just a natural or a traditional washed coffees. So we're gonna have the boxes and the samples are gonna be in two different kind of colors, differentiating the two kind of producers. And I think it's gonna be a very interesting experience for the people that are gonna be able to taste those sample boxes and try all these coffees, and they kind of like compare them, experience what is going on with the traditional producers that are known for their terroir and genetics and attention to details, and the producers that are most known for their innovation and like bringing technology into processing. So it's gonna be a really really cool experience for the people that are trying these coffees and buying these boxes.
It is an amazing auction idea, and I think for you guys as a company, you should be. I mean, you're a very humble guy, but you should be quite proud that you're able to, after 10 years, you have kind of the credibility in the network to put something like this together, to be able to invite. It is an invitation only auction, right? And so to be able to go out and actually garner the support of the best coffee producers in Colombia, get them a part of a single auction. I mean, that can't go without, being stated, and it probably can't be overstated because not all these guys, not everybody's friends, everybody's competition in Colombia. There's some risk in putting on an auction. So I think, I do want to appreciate you guys just for taking that step and taking that leap of faith more than step, I guess is what I call it. In these two groups that you went through selection on, did the how did you do this? Did you come up with a list of producers that you wanted to get involved, and then you segment them into the two groups, and then you said, "Hey, we're going to need you to do something wild with some wild yeast, and you're in that group, and then you're doing something clean and washed in this group," or did the producers sort of self-select themselves? How did this whole thing come together?
No, we well, that kind of grouping and dividing the producers is not because of the lots that they are going to present, because at the end, what they're presenting is the best that they can produce in both sides, with the traditional processing or with the new innovative methods. Everyone, and I'm very thankful for the producers with this because they have been very committed on selecting the best that they have of their 2025 harvest, and like doing a very very careful selection. What we're dividing here is the producers that are known in the market for being innovative and for creating these new processes. We're gonna just show them as innovative producers, and we're gonna package the other ones as more of a heritage, tradition keeper, purist kind of farm and producers. So it's just a way of representing how they are known in the market, and what's their uh, progress as a producer, as someone that has been creating a brand and creating a name in the marketplace. So like it's just on the kind of idea that people have about the producers, not specifically about the lot that they are producing.
Is there a little bit of a rivalry here of new school versus old school? Does that kind of present itself in the Colombia coffee culture with producers of, we're kind of new school, outrunning, trying to move fast and break things, and then the washed geisha. I mean, that, yeah, my grandpa used to process coffee that way. I mean, is that going on at all here?
Yes, it is. It is. It is. It is, and it's very strong. And we have been seeing it at the auction and between the people at the auction. And it's it's similar to what we've been talking about, the governments and like Like, oh, should you be adding yeast? Should you be adding hops to processing? Should you be recirculating most or not? And like, what happens there is, are you representing pure coffee? Are you representing the terroir of your land? And are you really showing the genetics of that plant, or you're just eyeing too much of the human side and human input to create a coffee? So, like, of course, there is a lot of that discussion, and it's an usual uh, theme.
You have to be
But
careful.
yeah,
You
we
have to
have
be
to be
careful. You're
careful. But
gonna
it's
you're gonna
what's going
accident
on.
yeah, you're gonna accidentally create like a secondary betting market. Like this auction, I didn't kind of made this connection, but the reality is that you could get into a situation where the auction prices that flow in both these camps could be the deciding factor of, okay, well, what is the best? Is it innovative? Is it innovative coffees, or is it new school, or is it old school? What is actually going to be what's going to be the best camp? And auctions are beautiful for that because there is some efficiency, and you're voting with dollars, right? You're voting with real money. So customers show up. Some customers are going to show up and they're going to vote for innovation, and some are going to show up and vote for clean, washed, traditional. I'm excited to see how this happens. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, it's gonna be. I think it's very unique because there haven't been an auction in Colombia where very well known producers. These are all producers that have won either Cup of Excellence, Colombia Land of Diversity. They have been winners of World Barista Championship. The coffee has been in World Barista Championships and Brewers Cup. These coffees are from producers that really have built a name for themselves, and it has never happened. They are all together in one place, and you can cup the best of the best. So yeah, it's gonna be a very unique opportunity to try 15 of the 16 lots, but 15 farms. So like coffees from the top 15 farms in Colombia.
Tell us tell us about a couple of the lots, a couple of the producers that you're excited about in this. Just give us kind of give us a taste of what we can expect over the next kind of month as these sample sets start going for sale and shipment.
Okay, so I think, well, one thing that we're very proud of being able to achieve, and it's getting Inmaculada to bring the Eugenoides for the first time to an auction. This coffee has been very limited production. There is a lot of demand for it. They have their harvest pre-sold, and it's usually sold to people that they already have a long relationship with. And the only like clients or long-lasting clients get access to this kind of coffee. We were able to get a small lot for the auction, and we're very happy about it. Very excited to have that lot in the auction. It's very unique. I think it's going to be
Why
amazing.
is that? Why is that lot so sought out? And most people haven't had the opportunity to taste this lot. I mean, everybody, in coffee, and especially coffee, you hear a lot about it because it's in competitions and it's, people, it's one of these lots that people talk a lot about. Why you have tried this lot? What makes this lot so sought after? Is it just the rarity of it?
I think part of it is just that there is a very small production in Colombia. There may be a few thousand trees of this. Each tree is also very hard to grow, and the production per tree is really limited and small. So the quantity of coffee that is produced is just extremely limited. There's very few people that are able to buy it, and as you said, it's a coffee that is very unique on the cup profile, the sweetness, the it's just something different that from any other kind of Arabica kind of coffee. So I think it's a very unique profile and a very unique limited coffee. It has been mostly in World Barista Championships, Brewers Cup. So it's a competition coffee only, or almost exclusively a competition coffee, and yeah, very few people have the opportunity to try it.
Where'd the variety come from? I mean, if there's so few in Colombia, how do you get how do you get it? I mean, where did all this how did it come about?
Well, I am not 100% sure of where the
I love this. This is how
cheese
coffee rumors start. This is like
coming
the
from.
chisme is like in full swing here. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's a coffee that Inmaculada had to grow in greenhouses to be able to keep it alive and to be able to like really get it used to Colombia. So it's been a coffee that they have been trying to grow for 15, 20 years. Uh, and now they have some seeds that are more adapted to the environment here, but they really had to make a big investment on greenhousing, protecting this coffee as if they were like babies to keep it alive and be able to produce some coffee out of it. We will tell you more about that, all that history and where it's coming from, but I think it's just the rarity and the difficulty to grow this coffee. It's unique.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you got Inmaculada Eugenoides, which is, I mean, I don't know how you're going to follow that up, but yeah, what are one or two others that that you think people are gonna,
Okay,
that will
I think
jump
we
off the
have.
cupping table and bite them?
Yeah, we have also from that Inmaculada. It's one of those producers that are very traditional, very purist in their approach. So I wanted to bring someone that is on the other side, and then we have Nestor Lasso and Jhoan Vergara from El Diviso and Las Flores that have also been producers that are showing up in almost every World Barista Championship for the last 5 years with their very innovative, very unique competition lots. And we're going to have coffees from both of them in the auction. Uh, those are some producers that are really, really well known in that side. Also, Wilton Benitez from Paraíso 92 is a producer that has been growing on the name as a brand of innovative processor with very unique coffees, lots of technology. So we have lots from that other side as well, producers that are pushing the boundaries of technology, of processing, and that have been participating in World Barista Championships, World Brewers Cup for the last 5 years or so with amazing competition coffee. So we're going to have a little bit of those, both of those worlds, and it's going to be amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, just the names you listed: Nestor Lasso, Wilton Benitez, Inmaculada. Like it's going to be crazy. I mean, people should buy the sample set just to have a chance to see all these on the same cupping table. I can't imagine. I mean, maybe you have had this before, but I can't imagine there's been a cupping table outside of Colombia that's had this kind of level of shock and awe that these coffees will present. I can't wait to attend a cupping. So, yeah, really exciting there. Before we kind of wrap up, I do, since this is sort of your 10th anniversary, Vicente, I do want to ask you, a lot of these conversation has been looking back over the last 10 years, some of kind of your current thinking. I'd be curious on what you're looking forward to in the next 10 years. What would you like to see Clearpath be, in 2035? If that's at all a fair question.
Yeah, no, of course. I think we want to keep building that platform for the best producers and the best possible importers, roasters, coffee buyers to match. And that's what we were trying to do with this auction. Like we're showing the producers here that we can all work together as a team to put Colombia coffee at a higher level, learn a little bit about what Panama has been doing of like, let's get the best producers, best farms working together to create an event that is bringing attention to specialty coffee in Colombia, kind of like work as a team. And that's what I think we want to grow on. It's really collaborating with the best coffee producers and bringing also infrastructure as I said, dry milling, processing knowledge, and processing infrastructure for producers that want to join that trend of specialty coffee, that want to add value to their coffees, and have that platform of sales and connections and trusted relationships with good clients all around the world that will appreciate those coffees and that want to show those great products to their marketplace. So I think if there is a family of producers in Colombia that are doing an effort to get into specialty coffee, we want to be there to help them find the clients and help them guide that path to find a marketplace and find a space into the specialty industry. I think that's what the company is going to continue doing. And we're going to continue doing it also through milling infrastructure and the processing knowledge and processing infrastructure.
It's such a beautiful description and so tangible too of a vision for the next 10 years. The the thinking for a lot of people outside of kind of that sort of sourcing or origin space might be that there's just, millions and millions of coffee farmers around the world. And there is. I mean, our industry is beautiful in the sense that it represents so many farmers and farming families, but you sort of get lost in the statistics of it all, right? Where it's okay, well, that's just a big number, 12.5 million farmers or 25 million farmers, whatever number people choose to use today for how many coffee farmers there are in the world. But I think what you're saying is so true and becoming so tangible in the coffee world, which is whether you're talking about Kona, Panama, whether you're talking about Guatemala or Colombia or Brazil or Ethiopia, you're generally talking about a set of maybe 25 to 75 really outstanding coffee producers moving the specialty coffee industry forward. And we hope that there would be more adopted into that family, as you're saying. But it takes somebody like you in Colombia to do the hard work of kind of getting, let's get this family together and let's keep it together for the next 10 years, because this could be something really beautiful and we could make this into a thriving space.
Exactly, exactly. And I think there is a match of values that need to happen. There is in Colombia we have 600,000 producers, uh, and what we want to do is really find a few that we can align in values of. We want to work in a way that is environmentally friendly, that is going to have a social impact in the community. We're truly believers of quality, and we want to dedicate our coffee to our life to create great coffees. And that's the kind of producer that we want to team with and that we want to really like support and help bring into the market. And as you say, like at the end, those values are also the ones that are leading the charge on specialty coffee and like presenting things in a unique way. And that's what we want to be.
Well said. Clearpath Coffee is hosting the Colombia Legends auction December 1st through the 3rd this year to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Clearpath Coffee. Everyone should register. You can pre-register now and get a sample set. So you can register interest for those sample sets. Once the sample sets are available and those lots are consolidated into the safekeeping of Vicente and his team, the sample sets will be shipping out sometime in November. Is that right, Vicente? And so
Exactly.
register your interest now. I anticipate these things going very fast. I think that they've got a heck of a current customer base of buyers, but that shouldn't eliminate any new buyers or anybody new looking at Colombia to look at these coffees, just because it's such a unique opportunity to try things that may have only been exclusively for barista competitions up to this point. So, Vicente, just thank you so much for what you're doing for the specialty coffee industry. Thank you for kind of your tempered but passionate voice in the Colombia coffee scene and helping that grow and flourish into this Colombia coffee family that's driving specialty coffee forward. And just thank you so much for this conversation today. It's been a lot of fun for me, and it's been a bright point of my week. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, David. Thank you for the invite, the opportunity. And well, again, everyone that wants to try coffees from the 15 of the best coffee farmers in Colombia, go register and get a sample box. I think it's a very cool, exciting experience also to try this coffee. Thank you,
Yeah,
David.
and for now, the auction is listed on mcultivo.com. If you guys want to find it there, you can also go to clearpathcoffee.com to get more information on Clearpath and the great work that Vicente is doing. We will talk to you soon, Vicente, and we'll be keeping up with you over the next month and a half, month or so as this auction kicks into high gear.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Looking forward to it.